when it comes to tuning, there isn't really a specific approach that I have. It's mostly understanding over the years of playing the instrument for a long time, of knowing what pitch range certain drums kind of thrive at. Like, for example, if you're like a jazz musician, you're going to be taking your toms up way, way, way higher, just because that's kind of the style. When it comes to like my approach, I like big rock tones. So I'm going to usually side on like the mid to lower frequency range. But it's not like I've sat down and said, oh, this 13-inch tom has to be tuned to an F sharp, or this floor tom has to be tuned to an A, or anything like that. I more or less pay attention to the pitch intervals between the toms. So it's a little bit harder to do with the bigger drums because I like them so low and growly. I usually would aim for a perfect fourth. So if you can think, here comes the bride, that's kind of the interval range that I would prefer between each toms. But again, since these drums are a little bit bigger and I like them a little lower, I actually have like a minor third between the floor toms. And then I think I've got the fourth between the 16 and the 13, but again, bigger drums. Surprisingly enough, the big 24-inch kick, the batter head is relatively loose. There's not a whole lot of tension on there. And then the EMAD ring kind of helps dampen the head enough. And that SEV kick just is the perfect kick mic in my opinion. And it just gets all of the attack and all of that mid and low information, which is great. And then the only other thing is like a relation between the reso head and the batter head. I actually heard Benny Greb speak to this about the interval between the two, because for years I would tune them to the same pitch and not realizing that there could be issues with like frequency cancellation. So I like to err on having the resonant head tuned about a minor third higher than the batter head. And funnily enough, like years and years ago, I took one of my floor toms completely apart and took a mallet to the shell to try to tap to see if I could get like a resonant frequency out of the wood. And it was like already where I had it tuned already. So it's like, that was reassuring. And then for snare drum, depending on like the session, if I'm doing like a pop or a country session, I'm usually going to go with my big, like low fat gushy snare. Sad to say, that's mostly so producers can get transients so that they can use samples to replace it with. But that's the game. But for my main snare, especially when I'm playing live, I actually do like to specifically tune that between like an F sharp or a G. And I just find that 14-inch drums sound really great at that pitch. It's nice, high, and cracky, which is the way I like it. And then I have the snare side head just cranked all the way up. And then shout out to Slapclats, by the way. They make colorful little gel dampeners, and I like to use those everywhere. It's funny, growing up, I never really paid much attention to dampening. I just kind of tuned the drums and let them be what they were. But now, after engineering and recording for a number of years, I like to dampen the toms pretty heavily. And that helps kind of focus the tone. And then, for a little bit of reassurance, I have the big fat snare drum, shout out, big XL donuts to help kind of control those tones a little bit more. And it like really on the sessions, it really just kind of focuses that tone and you get a lot of attack and sustain, which is great. And I think that's about it. It's not, again, an overly complicated process. If it sounds good, it sounds good. Don't mess with it if it sounds okay. Same thing with having fresh heads or old heads. I've got drums in the arsenal that I have heads on that are 6-7 years old and they still sound phenomenal. And then drums that, okay, yeah, it needs a new head every couple of months, just depending on how much it's getting used. So again, don't overcomplicate it. If it sounds good, it sounds good.